would like to invite Mr. Semana Jamel, President from Ethio Canadians for Human Rights. You have the floor for 5 minutes, sir. Go ahead.
Ethio Canadians for Human Rights makes a special reference to human rights violations in the Amhara and Oromia regions. Ethiopia's crisis stems from the 1995 constitution that changed administrative borders from a unified republic to a federation of ethnic regional states drawn on ethnic fault lines. Unlike Canada's democracy, Ethiopia's constitution grants rights to ethnic groups over individual rights. Ethnic federalism is troubled with inconsistencies, as ethnic communities don't live in discrete homelands. Ethnic homelands had endless conflicts among 85 ethnic groups that coexisted for centuries. After 3 decades of experiment of ethnic federalism, Ethiopians were fed up of it. In 2018, Ethiopia and the international community welcomed Prime Minister Abiy with euphoria. Hopes for change and reform were further emboldened when the Prime Minister received the Nobel Prize in 2019. Regrettably, the unfortunate Ethiopians got neither peace and security nor political reform. Between 2018 and 2023, there were 5,000 clashes, indicating 1,060 conflicts a year as reported by BBC, of which 58% happened in the Amhara region alone. Conflicts cripple government functions as 65% of the country is out of regime's hands. Land transport to regional capitals is risky or closed for traffic. Due to the state of emergency, the Amhara region atrocities are committed against Amharas, particularly in schools, churches, and mosques. Drone attacks have been a hallmark of government campaigns. The emergency subjected activists, journalists, and religious leaders to disappearances, executions, and detentions. Amharas who lived in harmony in all parts of the country for centuries are brutally killed, demonized, labeled, and displaced, leading to ethnic cleansing and genocide. Human rights abuses are appalling in the Oromia region, where Amharas are slaughtered like a chicken, as reported by The Guardian. Killings and wanton human rights violations are concocted and acted by government authorities, as chronicled by the U.S. Ethiopia 2023 human rights, often against international humanitarian law and Ethiopian constitution itself. Human Rights Watch reported that National Defense Forces massacred scores of Amhara civilians in the Amhara and Oromia regions in what the European Center for Law and Justice called it the Marawi, Burayo, Shashamane, and Metakal massacres, and so forth. Amhara farmers, the historical breadwinners, are denied fertilizers. It is a means used to starve the people by political fiat. This happens when the United Nations reported over 30 million people are needing urgent food assistance. The intent of genocide is amplified with the government of Ethiopia threatening to slaughter thousands of people overnight and warning its opponents of a consequence deadlier than the Red Terror of the 70s, which the African Union reported over 700,000 killed at the time. The fighting, anarchy, and genocide may soon be internationalized. Cognizant of the dire human rights situation in Ethiopia, we recommend for Canada, a home for over 100,000 Ethio-Canadian taxpayers, to call the government of Ethiopia release Amhara and Oromo parliamentarians arrested unconstitutionally. For example, Christian, Johannes, Taye Denda, and Dr. CASA, and release all Amhara, Oromo, and all political prisoners, journalists, activists, and opinion leaders, and lift the state of emergency in the Amhara region to establish an all-inclusive transitional government. Stop meddling in religious affairs and guarantee citizens' right to religious freedom. And for Canada, we should unequivocally condemn the government of Ethiopia's despicable killings of rape and marginalization of Amhara women, girls, and mothers. And Canada must immediately work to save lives by providing emergency humanitarian assistance to the Amhara people who suffered more than any other region. Canada that helped Ethiopia...
Can you wrap it up, please? Time is over. Can you wrap it up, please?
Thank you.
Yitna from Canadian Amhara Societies Alliance. You have the floor for 5 minutes, please. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chair, and I would like to thank also the committee members for inviting the Amhara voice in this hearing. Speaking of the current situation in Ethiopia, there is only one war conducted under state of emergency, which is the war on the Amhara people that started in April 2023 and was launched in a coordinated manner by the Abiy regime, Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, and the Oromo Liberation Army, OLA, following the war in North Ethiopia. For more than 13 months, the Abiy regime subjected the Amhara people throughout Ethiopia to lawful state of emergency and put them under siege. As a result, thousands have been arbitrarily killed, subjected to weaponized rape, collective punishment, hate speech, and profiling, arbitrarily imprisoned and held under cruel, inhumane, and degrading conditions. Civilian infrastructure, religious and cultural sites have been deliberately targeted, including those protected as World Heritage Sites. The use of schools as a military camps has forced over 4.1 million children out of school. Millions in need are not receiving humanitarian relief. TPLF, in a clear violation of the cessation of hostility agreement, it signed on November 2, 2022, launched attack in Raya and Taland areas since April 12, 2024, committing ethnic cleansing, where scores of civilians are killed and young children are burned alive. The ethnic-based attacks have continued in Oromia region. On May 31st, 2024 alone, Oromo Liberation Army militants killed and abducted Amhara civilians in West Shoa Zone. All these coordinated attacks by the Abiy regime, TPLF, and OLA demonstrate a pattern of deliberate acts which have the hallmarks of genocide, war crimes, and crime against humanity. Considering the imminent existential threat and after exhausting all peaceful venues in response to the ongoing genocide, the Amhara people had no other option but to exercise their human and legal rights to self-defense, led by the heroic Fano movement. The Amhara Fano represents a diverse cross-section of the Amhara society, including farmers, business people, civil servants, medical doctors, engineers, university professors, and school teachers. In less than a year, the Fano movement has gained control of 90% of the Amhara region, established democratic interim administrations, and brought peace to areas under their control. Here is our recommendation. We urge the Canadian government to explicitly condemn the Abiy regime for its atrocities against the Amhara people and take urgent measures as: 1. Demand the Abiy army and TPLF forces leave the Amhara region immediately. Demand ending telephone blockouts, including internet in the Amhara region. Allow aid organizations in the Amhara region to provide humanitarian assistance. Pressure countries such as United Arab Emirates and Turkey to stop supplying weapons, including drones, to the Abiy regime. Refrain from supporting the so-called national dialogue and transitional justice process promoted by Abiy regime to prolong its stay on power and avoid accountability for heinous crimes it committed. Impose sanctions against the Abiy regime, including economic and diplomatic. And lastly, refrain from funding the Abiy regime, TPLF, and OLA directly or indirectly. It is worth noting that last month, the Canadian Minister of International Development, the Honorable Ahmed Hussein, announced 14 million Canadian dollars to support disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration. TPLF proudly uses such funds to re-invade Amharas. As Canadian citizens and taxpayers, the Amhara diaspora strongly opposes Canada's promoting double standards in its policy toward the Amhara people. Instead, we urge Canada to make a meaningful shift in its policy and act.
Please wrap it up. Time is out, please.
To stop genocidal war on the Amhara people and promote genuine peace, democracy, and justice in Ethiopia. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now I would like to invite Mr. Semana Jemer, President from Ethio Canadians.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to all our witnesses for your testimony. I think it would be fair to say that we had all hoped that the agreement in 2022, the Pretoria one, would put an end to the suffering throughout Ethiopia, but that unfortunately has not been the case. To start off with, if I could ask Mr. Bayane, why is it that the Amhara did not participate in those peace negotiations?
Thank you very much. That's a very important question. The Amharas have done a lot of efforts to be part of the agreement discussion, but they were refused. They were systematically excluded from participating on that Pretoria agreement. And that's exactly why the cessation for hostility agreement has failed. It failed, and it's doomed to fail from the get-go because it is very excluding the Amharas and other key partners. It was an agreement between the Abiy regime and TPLF. And the Western world, including Canada, has to take full responsibility in that role. Had it been all-inclusive, that would have been brought, maybe, potentially, a better outcome. And what we see now, the war on Amhara, and what we witness now is a mere reflection of the failure of the COHA.
So now if I could go to Mr. Jemere. Is it your contention that the Amhara were excluded as well? And to the extent that that may be your response, is there an opportunity for a sequencing where there would be discussions between the central government and the Amhara?
Are you asking me about whether there is a discussion between the Amhara and the central government?
Why did they not partake in the peace negotiations that led to the secession agreement of 2022?
Well, this is a very interesting question because I think we have to put this question to the government of Ethiopia and to the TPLF. But the reason why they did not invite the Amhara colleagues is that they think that they are very contentious and they think that they are the oppressors and they want to exclude them because they have been excluding them from time immemorial since the TPLF government.
Before that peace agreement with the central government, the Amhara got along, correct?
Yeah. Sorry, my hearing aid is not cooperating.
Sure. I can take it up. Yeah. Okay. As Mr. Beyene said, the Amharas were not included in the discussion. And after all, who said Amharas should be participating in the discussion, and the Tigray group must be participating? If it is a peace deal, if it's a peace agreement, it must have involved all parties, all stakeholders that have participated in one way or another in the conflict in northern Ethiopia. Like the Amharas were affected because of the war, the Afar region, another region adjoining the Tigray region, was affected. Neither the Afar or the Amhara groups were invited. And it's because the Abiy government wanted to take advantage of the international pressure so that he could make a backdoor deal without even further discussing the...
So you're saying there was no invitation and you couldn't partake in that?
Yeah.
So if someone were to say that the Abiy government should enter into negotiations, what would the preconditions be?
Well, I can't speak on behalf of the Amharas. I'm here representing Ethio-Canadians.
Generally, where you follow what is of concern.
What would have been the best forum for the peace deal would have been to bring all stakeholders in the country, including the Oromo Liberation Army. There are different factions of the Oromos, including the TPLF Absolutely. Or other Tigrayan groups, all Amhara groups and Afar regions. Even in Gambella and Benishangul, there are some groups. So all those stakeholders must have been put together to discuss the national issues. That would be an Ethiopian solution, a win-win solution.
Thank you.
If I could add here, we don't understand why the Amhara was excluded. It's not only the Amhara who is excluded. It is the Afars who are also excluded because the northern war affected both the Amhara and the Afar region as well as Tigray. So the reason why the government of Ethiopia and the TPLF people excluded Amhara and Afar, it is beyond us. We couldn't be able to understand the reason.
Fair
and if you don't bring both, then there is no reason of a negotiation at all.
And Mr. Biro, if I could go to you.